Hi, I'm Luke Lango. Now, it's great to be here with everyone, and I'll introduce myself fully in just a moment. But first, I need to bring your attention to a big artificial intelligence move that Apple just made. But fair warning, I am not recommending you go out and buy Apple stock right now. Now, I do think Apple, it's a great stock to buy. But the real opportunity here isn't in buying Apple itself. Instead, the real opportunity is in the smaller companies that could help Apple bring this move to life. You see, over the past 2 years or so, the biggest companies in Silicon Valley, they've made a shift to focus on artificial intelligence. Of course, I'm talking about companies like Google, which has invested $30.7 billion into AI. Or how about Microsoft? They've invested $10 billion into AI. Meta, Mark Zuckerberg's company, they've put $22.1 billion into this technology. And even Amazon, they've thrown $10 billion into AI tech. I mean, clearly, they all saw AI's potential to grow into a $15.7 trillion industry and decided to make it the cornerstone of their operations. But while these companies have spent the last 2 years taking full advantage of AI, Apple, they've largely stayed out of the race, at least until now. Because after sitting on the sidelines for so long, Apple has finally made the decision to enter the AI race. And in typical Apple fashion, they're doing it with a bang. So much so that CNBC is already calling Apple a dark horse in the AI race. That's right, folks. Despite being so late to the party with AI, Apple already has a genuine shot at becoming a global AI leader. In fact, I think they have a shot at becoming the global AI leader, the top AI company in the world. And it's all because of what the company announced at its annual Worldwide Developer Conference back in June 2024. You see, during that conference, Apple unveiled their breakthrough AI innovation, something that they call Apple Intelligence, a next-generation AI platform that Apple CEO himself said will transform what users can do with our products and what our products can do for our users. Now, this means we're on the brink of seeing Apple's groundbreaking AI technology in action. And as Apple goes public with its first Apple Intelligence device, I expect it to send shockwaves across the global tech industry. Now, even more so, I expect it to create some really exciting investment opportunities, especially for investors who position themselves correctly ahead of Apple's big AI release. But in all of this, there's one thing that I need to make clear. While I am expecting Apple's upcoming reveal to trigger a wave of stock market profits, I also strongly believe that the best way to position yourself for the big reveal, it's not by investing in Apple. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the stock, I really do. But with a market cap of $3 trillion, Apple's stock, it's simply too large, it's too big to experience a big jump. And of course, it's going to grind higher from here, but it's not going to soar. But what could soar, thanks to Apple's upcoming AI launch, are the smaller stocks that I like to call Apple's silent suppliers. And I found 3 companies that I think could be working behind the scenes to bring Apple Intelligence to the mass market. So here's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to show you all the facts and details on these 3 companies, all the research my team and I found over the past few months. I'll walk you through my projections and analysis. I'll show you all the numbers with all the proof to back it up. Then you can decide for yourself if you think this opportunity is right for you. In fact, I'll even give you the name and ticker symbol of one of my favorite companies to play Apple's $1 trillion bet. Because folks, believe it or not, As big as Apple is, they actually don't manufacture their products entirely by themselves. Instead, Apple relies on other companies, often even low-profile ones, that operate behind the scenes to produce the various components that power Apple's products. Take the iPhone, for instance. The iPhone is currently Apple's biggest cash cow, obviously, but most of its production isn't handled by Apple. Instead, it's handled by these so-called silent suppliers. For example, think about the iPhone's chipsets, which allow you to make and receive actual calls. Now, they're made by Qualcomm, and that stock has surged by 259% since they began supplying Apple. Even the iPhone's processor chips, they aren't made by Apple. They're made by Taiwan Semiconductor, and ever since TSM partnered with Apple, their stock has skyrocketed an incredible 1,052%. I mean, that's enough to turn every $1,000 into $10,520. And it's not just TSM, folks, because Broadcom, that's another perfect example. So Broadcom, they started producing Apple's network chips back in 2007, and ever since then, their stock has risen by an astronomical 10,265%. I mean, that's enough to turn just $1,000 into over $100,000. Because you see, folks, over the years, these silent suppliers, they've worked hard behind the scenes to bring the actual iPhone to life. And as a result, their stocks have produced these huge returns for their investors. Now, with Apple gearing up to roll out its first AI-powered product, I expect these silent suppliers of that product to take off as well. Now, of course, Apple hasn't gone public with its first AI device yet, so most investors have absolutely no clue who any of their AI suppliers are or will be. But through my research, I've identified what I believe are 3 companies that could work to supply key parts of Apple's first AI device. Now, one of these companies, it's trading for around just $15 a share. And they recently announced, get this, they recently announced that it has reached a development agreement with an unnamed top 5 smartphone maker. In another press release, this same company mentioned that they'd struck a deal to become a supplier for an unnamed California-based technology company. Now, while the small firm hasn't explicitly spelled out who this partner is, a simple dot connecting here, I mean, top 5 smartphone maker company based in California, that strongly suggests that we're talking about Apple here. I mean, I personally would be shocked if the partner wasn't Apple. My best guess is Apple. They've simply asked the company not to explicitly reveal the details to maintain the element of surprise ahead of their big AI launch. But if they do make the announcement, imagine if the entire world sees that this tiny company is playing a major role in bringing Apple's first AI-powered product to life. I mean, its share price could soar as investors rush into it. But if you get in today, before 99% of investors do, you stand a chance to make massive gains in the coming months when Apple does go public with their first AI device. And that's why today, I'll fill you in on the 3 companies that I believe could be supplying key components for Apple's big AI shift, so you can position yourself ahead of Apple's next big move in the coming months. Now, I'll also break down exactly what Apple Intelligence is and why I believe it could help Apple become the world's leading AI company in just a few short years. But before I do, allow me now to fully introduce myself. My name is Luke Lango. Now, I'm a renowned stock market analyst with a special knack for identifying emerging tech trends and stocks. I graduated from what many consider to be the world's top technology university, the California Institute of Technology, where I made invaluable connections to some of the brightest minds in the tech world. I mean, seriously, folks, some of the people I went to school with, many of whom I remain good friends with today, they've turned into movers and shakers in the tech world. We're talking power players at companies like Tesla, Meta, Alphabet, and yes, even Apple. Now, thanks partly to these connections, and also partly to other connections I made dabbling in the venture capital scene in California, both starting and running companies and fundraising from VCs, I've been able to identify some of the biggest stock market opportunities in the tech universe of the past decade. For instance, I saw the potential in a tiny chip maker called AMD back when it was just a struggling chip maker, thanks in large part to technical insights on AMD's superior chip architecture that I got from a good mechanical engineering friend of mine. See, who you know matters just as much as what you know in this industry. Because folks, back then when I did recommend AMD stock, people were talking about it going potentially bankrupt. I mean, it was just a $2 stock, for crying out loud. A lot of people thought I was crazy for seeing long-term potential in such a beaten down penny stock, if you will. But they all called me a genius when AMD stock soared to $200 at its peak, marking 100 times gain, which would have turned a simple $1,000 stake into nearly $100,000. Now, I did the same thing during the 2020 crypto market crash. You see, while most folks saw crypto's crash as the end, I recognized it as a golden opportunity. So I pinpointed synthetic network token as a hidden gem in the crypto world, and this move paid off handsomely as the stock skyrocketed by an astonishing 2,865%. I mean, that's enough to turn a simple $1,000 investment into roughly $28,000. Now, it was the same situation with Shopify in 2017. Back then, I saw the potential in Shopify because the e-commerce industry, I mean, it was growing fast. And Shopify, they made it easy for anyone to create their own online store with just a few clicks. So, of course, I recommended the stock in 2017. And ever since, it shot up 1,700%. So I guess the million-dollar question here is, how do I identify these opportunities? Well, truth be told, I spend hours analyzing earnings reports and financial statements and looking at the charts, but that's not the secret sauce here. Instead, the secret sauce, if you will, is that I spend a great amount of time trying to intimately understand the science behind the technologies and maintain direct connections with the people that are actually building them. You see, it's this boots on the ground approach that has led to my radical success on the stock market. I mean, it's led to nearly 200 of my stock recommendations doubling in value, with several yielding gains as high as 10 times, 30 times, and even 100 times. Now, for example, through my in-depth research and Silicon Valley connections, I realized that electric vehicles were on the cusp of a major breakthrough back in 2019, before most of the world recognized it. I thought they were set to go mainstream. Now, with this in mind, I identified and recommended investments in EV companies like Tesla, which soared by up to 2,215%. Now, that would have turned every $1,000 into over $22,000, but I didn't stop there, because I also spotted the potential in NIO, a lesser known but equally promising player in the EV space back in 2019, which impressively skyrocketed by up to 3,131%, transforming every $1,000 into over $31,000 if you sold at the peak. My focus then shifted to Workhorse, a pioneer in electric trucks, and their stock, wouldn't you know it, soared, sparking gains as high as 1,547% in the 2019 and 2020 EV boom. Now that is enough to flip a simple $1,000 into a little over $15,000 if you sold at the peak. Folks, as a result of my track record, I was recognized as one of America's top stock pickers. Now, this ranking comes from one of the most widely recognized financial rating companies in the world. I beat out nearly 15,000 financial experts in 2020, including analysts, brokers, and hedge fund managers on Wall Street to claim that title. As you can see, folks, I've helped my followers have the chance to make some serious profits over the years. I've caught on to some of the most disruptive technological trends early, like electric vehicles and crypto. Now, I'm not saying any of that to brag. Rather, I'm saying it for one reason and one reason only. So you take me seriously when I say that Apple is set to dominate the AI game in the coming months. And investors who position themselves correctly here will give themselves a shot at some potentially extraordinary investment opportunities. Now, of course, as things stand, Apple is currently, they're late to the AI race. Companies like Google, Microsoft, Meta, and Amazon, they've been working hard to bring their own AI systems to life over the past couple of years. So a lot of folks, I get it. They might be skeptical about Apple's ability to catch up to these tech giants when it comes to AI. But based on my research, I don't believe Apple is just going to catch up. I believe they're going to leapfrog the entire tech industry when it comes to AI and make early investors in the Apple intelligence ecosystem potentially enormous returns. After all, we've seen it happen on a number of occasions. Let's look at the iPhone again. As you probably know, Apple is currently one of the biggest players in the global smartphone market, but let's not forget that they weren't the first to the game. Let's remember, companies like BlackBerry, Nokia, and Motorola, they'd already cemented themselves in the smartphone industry long before Apple even released the iPhone. So by the time Apple actually got into the smartphone game, they had a ton of established competition to contend with. So much so that back then a lot of people laughed at Apple's late entry and doubted their chances of succeeding in the smartphone game. People like former Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer, renowned tech journalist Bill Ray. Even the popular tech news site TechCrunch predicted that the iPhone would fail, yet, lo and behold, Apple sold about 231 million iPhones last year. Now, to put that in perspective, just last year, Apple sold more iPhones than the entire population of England, France, and Germany combined. In other words, despite all the competition and all the skepticism, Apple didn't just catch up in the smartphone game. They leapfrogged everyone to become the number one smartphone company in the world. Now, of course, it was the same story with the Apple Watch, right? Before the Apple Watch, there were already established players in the smartwatch market, companies like Samsung and Fitbit. But that didn't hold Apple back from diving headfirst into the smartwatch game. And at the time, many industry experts, they were sure that the Apple Watch would fail. Publications like CNN, Tech Radar, and even Fast Company predicted the Apple Watch would be a flop. Yet today, the Apple Watch holds the biggest market share in the smartwatch sector. Then there's also the laptop market. Because before the MacBook, companies like Dell, HP, and IBM, they dominated the industry with laptops running on the Windows operating system. Now, these companies, they were well established. They had a strong foothold in the market, but Apple took a different approach. They created the MacBook, a sleek, powerful machine that ran on their proprietary operating system, the Mac OS. And today, the MacBook, it's one of the best-selling laptops on the planet. So, as you can see, folks, Apple, they don't need to be a first mover in an industry to dominate it. Rather, they've consistently sort of just strolled into competitive markets at their leisure, at their own pace. And then they won. They did it in the smartphone sector. They did it in the smartwatch sector. They did it in the laptop market, along with a slew of other sectors like wireless earphones, tablets, and even virtual reality. And now, I believe Apple is set to take over the AI industry in similar fashion. And as they dominate the AI market, I believe the silent suppliers, so the companies working behind the scenes to support Apple's pivot into AI, they're going to soar. just like we've seen happen with the silent suppliers for Apple's other successful products, their current basket of products like the iPhone, the iPad, the Apple Watch, and the MacBook. Take Lumentum, for example. Now, this company supplies the 3D sensing chips that power one of Apple's most important features, the Face ID. Their stock has risen as much as 79% since they became a silent supplier for Apple, which could have nearly doubled a $1,000 investment. And it's the same story with Skyworks Solutions. This company, they've been supplying wireless chips for Apple ever since 2009, and ever since then, their share price has soared as much as 1,778%. I mean, that's enough to turn every $1,000 into as much as $17,780. There's also Cirrus Logic. Now, this company supplied audio technology for the iPod, and they currently supply audio tech for the iPhone, the iPad, and Apple's MacBooks. Now, get this. A $1,000 stake in that company, when they started supplying audio technology for Apple's iPod Classic, would have turned into as much as $19,000. My point here is this. As Apple continued to dominate various markets over the years, their silent suppliers continued to soar. So much so that anybody who invested in these companies, in these silent suppliers, when they first partnered with Apple, had the chance to turn small stakes into potentially huge sums. And I believe we'll see a similar situation play out with Apple's next generation of silent suppliers. And that's why I prepared this urgent presentation, to fill you in on the companies that I believe could be working behind the scenes to bring Apple Intelligence to life, so you can position yourself before Apple goes live with their first ever Apple Intelligence product. But before I dive into these companies, it's important that I break down exactly what Apple Intelligence is, so you can get a full picture of why Apple is perfectly positioned to succeed in the AI race and maybe even dominate that race, and how that success could impact your portfolio. So, as you probably know, Apple loves to put their own unique spin on existing technology. It's their way of placing their products in a league of their own, if you will. Take the MacBook, for instance. For all intents and purposes, it's a laptop. But Apple went the extra mile to position it very differently. They made it sleeker, they made it more compact and more powerful than other laptops on the market, so much so that barely anybody ever calls a MacBook a laptop, because it's just a MacBook. It's a device in a league of its own. And Apple's AI model, Apple Intelligence, is quite similar in that way. You see, Apple Intelligence is Apple's unique spin on artificial intelligence. It's a custom AI model that can use the data tied to your Apple device to help you do almost anything, really. For instance, Apple's AI has the potential to analyze your sleep patterns and provide you with personalized recommendations to improve the quality of your sleep. It can also pick up on how you usually text people. So if you get a message and don't feel like typing, you can just ask Apple Intelligence to come up with a reply that sounds just like you. And that's not all. You see, Apple Intelligence can also learn from the way you use different apps and then use that data to just make your life easier. For example, if a buddy of yours texts you about a book, a podcast, or even a TV show, you can literally just pick up your device and say, play that podcast that Jamie recommended, or add that book to my reading list. And Apple Intelligence will handle it without you having to do anything. Isn't that amazing? It gets even better than that, though, because Apple went the extra mile to make Apple Intelligence a powerful AI model. They struck a landmark deal with OpenAI to give iPhone users access to ChatGPT's generative AI tools. And thanks to this deal, you'll be able to use Apple products to do pretty much anything that ChatGPT can do. For instance, If you're looking to improve your cardiovascular health, Apple can leverage ChatGPT's database to set up a meal plan that's tailored to that goal. It can even go as far as creating entire shopping lists and recipes for preparing the meal, or it can recommend restaurants and meal delivery services where you can place orders. I mean, as far as I can tell, Apple Intelligence has the potential to fit right into your daily life and make it significantly easier. Because in a sense, it's like a hyper-personalized AI assistant, kind of like Jarvis from the Iron Man movies. That's the way I like to think of it. And now that Apple has rolled out this breakthrough AI system, you stand a chance to make triple-digit gains in the months ahead if you make the right stock market moves now. But like I said before, if you want to profit from Apple Intelligence, investing in Apple stock, good move, but not the best move. After all, with a market cap of $3 trillion, Apple stock is already far too large. The upside, it's good. Yes, it's good, but it's nothing to write home about. This means that if you're looking to take full advantage of Apple's first ever AI device, you need to take a completely different approach. And the best approach, as I've shown you today, would be to grab a stake in the potential silent suppliers who are helping bring Apple Intelligence to the public. Because after all, some of these companies, they still have very small market caps. Now, this means they still have a ton of upside potential. Not just 20% or 30%, but maybe 100% or 200% or even more. But if you want a real shot at capturing these gains of this size, you'll need to get into these potential suppliers fast. Because Apple is rolling out its first AI-powered device as we speak. And if things play out as I expect them to, Apple could reveal its AI silent suppliers at any moment. Now, once this information is out, I predict a flood of investors will rush to these silent suppliers, and all that volume is almost guaranteed to send these stocks flying higher. And that's why it's crucial to invest in Apple's AI suppliers now, because an early stake in these plays will give you the best chance of capturing the lion's share of gains. But of course, the big question is, how am I so sure that all of this will pan out the way I expect it to? See, over the past 2 decades, we've watched the iPhone become the #1 smartphone in the world. I mean, right from the iPhone 1 down to the most recent iPhone 15 series, Apple has successfully maintained a chokehold on the smartphone market. But now, things are poised to change. Now that Apple has finally rolled out their first ever AI-powered phone, I expect them to gain a major lead in the AI race. Let me tell you why. As I've shown you today, Apple has consistently walked into new markets and won. They went headfirst into the smartphone market, the smartwatch market, and even the laptop market, and they managed to leapfrog their competition across all these sectors despite being so late to the party. Now, what's more is, in all of this, investors who saw the writing on the wall for these big Apple moves had the potential to make a lot of money, not just by investing in Apple, but by investing in the companies that were working behind the scenes to bring those Apple products to life. I'm talking about companies, of course, like Qualcomm, whose stock has gone up nearly 3 times since they became one of Apple's silent suppliers. TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor, whose stock has soared over 10 times since they started working with Apple, and even Cirrus Logic, whose stock has produced nearly 20 times returns. And that, folks, is just to name a few. You see, a slew of other silent suppliers also have produced some astronomical gains over the years by helping to bring Apple's products to life. I'm talking about suppliers like Lumentum, whose share price has soared nearly 2 times, Skyworks Solutions, whose stock has grown more than 17 times, Broadcom, whose stock has skyrocketed over 100 times since they partnered up with Apple. Do you see the pattern at play here? Whenever Apple has entered and then dominated a market, some of its silent suppliers have produced stock market returns as high as 100 times. And as Apple begins its streak of dominance in the AI industry, I expect to see similar stock market moves with its new set of silent suppliers. Now, why is that? Well, it's because Apple has applied the same exact approach, literally the same exact approach to AI that they've used to dominate nearly every sector of the tech industry in the last 2 decades. I'm talking about simplicity. I mean, think about it. One of the biggest reasons for Apple's success is just darn simplicity. Apple has gone the extra mile to make their ecosystem the simplest to use in the world. For instance, they have proprietary applications like Apple Pay, which makes it easy to pay for stuff with just a tap of the phone, or AirDrop, which lets you instantly share files between Apple devices. Now, there's even Apple's handoff feature, right, which lets you start a task on one Apple device and then seamlessly continue it on another. I mean, it's no wonder CNBC recently reported that the average American household owns more than 2 Apple products. I mean, why wouldn't they? It's just so simple to use. And now, Apple has combined that simple ecosystem with AI to create what they now call Apple Intelligence, a custom AI model tailored specifically to your wants and needs. Now, when Apple Intelligence goes live, it's going to know your favorite restaurants, what sports you follow, what news you read, what music you listen to, what shows you watch, and much more. It will know how you like to text people, the tone you use in your messages, the way you abbreviate things, because it's tied to Apple's native ecosystem. Apple Intelligence will have safe access to data on essentially everything about you. It's going to be able to use that data to help make your life easier. For instance, say you're having trouble picking a restaurant for a date night, or that you're not sure what movie you want to watch on any particular night, something I struggle with all the time. Heck, maybe you're even struggling to find new music you enjoy, or maybe you aren't liking that email or the text you just wrote to a colleague. Well, Apple Intelligence can help you with all of that and more. It'll use your existing data footprint to make scarily accurate recommendations for you, essentially acting like a personal assistant of sorts. And that's pretty amazing. Now, it's even more amazing when you consider that according to employment company Glassdoor, it costs about $57,000 a year to hire a personal assistant. Yet with an AIPhone, billions of people will be able to enjoy the perks of a personal assistant without having to employ one at $57,000 a year. And it won't stop at the AIPhone, folks, because Apple will eventually make their other products AI-enabled too. I'm talking about products like the iPad, the Apple Watch, the MacBook, and more. I mean, think the AI Pad, the AI Watch, the AI Book. That is the future. Now, keep in mind that the current iteration of these devices, they already have a user base of over 2 billion people worldwide, which means that as Apple rolls out more AI-powered devices, they will be able to get Apple Intelligence adopted by literally billions of people over time. But here's the real kicker. Apple's not doing this alone. They're getting help from the most innovative AI company on the planet, OpenAI themselves. Now, this partnership means that Apple users can leverage OpenAI's cutting-edge technology. And when you combine this with Apple's massive user base, it's clear that they have an unfair advantage in the AI race. I mean, they have the biggest user base and some of the most innovative products in the world. And it's no surprise that Apple's CEO, Tim Cook, recently came out to say, we have advantages that will differentiate us in this AI era. Now, those advantages have put Apple in a prime position to become the global leader in AI. And as Apple climbs to the top of the AI industry, there's a massive opportunity for people like you and me to profit. I mean, after all, think about what happened when Apple became a leader in the smartphone market, the smartwatch market, and the laptop market. Their silent suppliers, the ones we've been talking about all presentation, they absolutely soared. Of course, I'm talking about companies like Skyworks Solutions. That stock went up as much as 17 times since they partnered with Apple. We've talked about Cirrus Logic. That stock went up 19 times. And Broadcom, another one we've talked about, that stock is up over 100 times. I mean, folks, $1,000 investment in each could have turned into as much as 17 grand, 19 grand, and even $100,000 if you sold at the highs. And right now, we are staring down the barrel of an opportunity that could produce similar returns. Heck, I think the profits from Apple's AI suppliers could be even bigger than anything we've seen before, because AI as a technology itself is getting adopted faster than any other piece of tech that we've ever seen. For instance, it took ChatGPT, the model that OpenAI made, which Apple is now integrated with, about 2 months to reach 100 million users. 2 months. That's 42 times faster than the internet. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying Apple's AIPhone will sell 42 times more than regular phones, but look at it this way. Right now, Apple sells about 200 million iPhones a year. But with the velocity that AI has, it's not far-fetched to think that Apple could at least double those numbers with an AI-powered phone. And if they do, the silent suppliers behind the AI phone, they could watch their stock prices absolutely soar. In other words, if you grab a stake in these potential silent suppliers, now that Apple has rolled out its first ever AI phone, then you stand a chance to multiply your portfolio many times over. But remember, Apple is yet to announce their silent suppliers, officially announce them, which means most investors, they currently have no clue who any of these suppliers are or will be. But I've conducted heaps of research, and I've been able to identify 3 companies that I believe could be working behind the scenes to bring Apple's first AI product to life. Now, one of these companies, it's a small firm that produces advanced lithium-ion batteries. I'm talking about the types of batteries that Apple will need to power their new AI devices. Now, what's interesting about this one company in particular is they recently hinted at a partnership with Apple, not once, but twice. Now, in one press release, this company announced that it had reached a development agreement with an unnamed top 5 smartphone maker. And in another press release, the same company mentioned that they'd struck a deal to become a supplier for an unnamed California-based technology company for that company's mixed reality headset. Now, to my knowledge, there is only one top 5 smartphone maker in California that is also making a mixed reality headset, and that company is none other than Apple. So, to me, it's pretty clear that this small company I'm talking about could be partnered up with Apple, and I believe the other 2 firms I've identified are as well. So, you'll want to grab a stake in these 3 companies right away because, like I've shown you today, Apple's silent suppliers, they could go on to produce astronomical returns over the years. I mean, we saw it with TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor. That stock is up by as much as 10 times. And Skyworks Solutions, which is up by as much as 17 times. And I believe we can see something similar play out with each of the 3 potential AI suppliers that I've identified. And that's why I decided to put the name, ticker symbol, and details of each company in a new special report I just authored called The Silent Suppliers, 3 companies set to support Apple's AI phone. Now, inside this report, you're going to find the name, the ticker symbol, and my full analysis on why I believe each of these companies could be a silent supplier for Apple's AI projects, and how a simple investment in these 3 companies could deliver massive gains in the months ahead. Now, the first company in this report has already made 2 big hints at a partnership with Apple. It's a company that has developed its own proprietary battery technology that allows for a higher energy density and longer cycle life than conventional smartphone batteries. And by the looks of things, this company is set to play a key role in Apple's AI era. Very exciting firm. The second company in this report is behind an innovative AI-powered internet browser. Unlike Apple's old Safari, this browser comes with its own AI system, a free VPN, a built-in ad blocker, and even integrated crypto wallets. Now, my research suggests that Apple could potentially partner with this company to integrate their browser, that AI-powered browser, into the new AI products. The third company in this report operates its own generative AI model, similar to ChatGPT. However, unlike ChatGPT, this company's AI model tailors itself to your specific user activity. Now, this aligns perfectly with Apple's goal of creating personalized AI devices using Apple Intelligence. In June, Apple held discussions with this company to leverage its AI model, and I believe that as Apple's first AI device goes live, there's a good chance we could see them announce a partnership with this innovative AI company. Now, folks, I want to give you access to this report right now because the stage is already set, frankly. Like I said before, Apple has finally made the decision to enter the AI race. And on June 13th, 2024, they revealed their own AI model called Apple Intelligence. Now, they're set to use it to power the next generation of Apple products, starting with what I believe will be the AIPhone. Now, as Apple goes live with the AIPhone, I expect them to reveal the silent suppliers behind it. And once that information comes to light, Apple's silent AI suppliers, they could surge to new highs. And that's why I put together this report, so you can get all the details about the three companies that I believe could be working behind the scenes to bring Apple's first AI-powered product to the public. Now, I'll tell you how to claim the special report in just a moment. But first, there's another exciting opportunity that I want to share with you today. Because, you see, as Apple rolls out their first AI-powered device, I expect the silent suppliers behind it to, of course, take off. But there's another group of companies that could soar as Apple makes its big AI pivot. I'm talking about their existing silent suppliers, the ones that have actually already been working with Apple for years. Now, make no mistake, folks, Apple's push into AI marks the start of a new era for the company. Yes, 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 yes. But that also means that some of their current suppliers might get cut as Apple shifts into the AI industry. Now, on the other hand, a few of Apple's suppliers, the ones still producing parts and components for Apple's AI products, those stocks are primed to soar. And I've identified 3 of them. Now, you can find all 3 in a bonus report I prepared for you called Apple's Forever Suppliers, the 3 companies set to support Apple's AIPhone. Inside the report, you'll find all the details about the stocks, including their ticker symbols and full analysis. Now, the first company in this report specializes in advanced semiconductors, which are like the brains, if you will, of any AI technology. These semiconductors are essential because they handle the heavy lifting for AI tasks like data processing. Now, as Apple pivots into AI, they will rely heavily on these powerful semiconductors to make their AI products smarter and faster. And this makes the company that produces them, of course, a key partner for Apple's AI ambitions. The second company in this report, it's a leader in data storage solutions, which, make no mistake, are vital for supporting AI technology. Because as Apple moves into AI, they're going to need reliable data storage to handle the vast amounts of information that AI systems process and analyze. Now, this company's state-of-the-art storage solutions ensure that Apple's AI products have the capacity to store, manage, and access data quickly and efficiently, making it a critical partner for Apple's AI ambitions. And lastly, the third company in this report produces memory solutions, which are critical for AI technology. As Apple looks to launch its first set of AI products, they'll need high-performance memory to handle the intensive data processing and storage requirements of AI applications. And this company, well, it's set to be a key supplier of Apple's memory technologies. Folks, these 2 special reports I just mentioned, they're ready for you. And you can grab them free of charge. All I ask in return is that you try my flagship research service, Innovation Investor, at zero risk to you. Now, Innovation Investor is where I show everyday Americans like yourself how to profit from the world's hottest technology megatrends, like AI. Now, even when markets crashed in 2018, I recommended 2 stocks that went on to return 5 times at their peak. GoGo went up as high as 418%, and JD.com, it soared as much as 399%. That's partly why in 2020, I was voted the #1 stock picker in the world by TipRanks, a company that tracks the performance of over 96,000 financial experts, including hedge funds, Wall Street analysts, and more. And that's why today, I want to extend my Innovation Investor research to you to try for a full year completely risk-free. Because, folks, regardless of the market conditions, I'm confident that my research can help you thrive in ways that, frankly, you can't even imagine right now. Now, I'll show you how to get started in just a moment, but first, let me tell you about yet another valuable report that I'd like you to have. It's simply called NVIDIA's Silent Suppliers, 3 companies powering NVIDIA's AI revolution. Now, as you likely know, NVIDIA is one of the fastest growing companies in the world right now. Over the past year alone, they've added $1 trillion to their market value. And that's because of the speed at which they're advancing with their AI chips. But what a lot of people don't realize about NVIDIA is that just like Apple, they're not working alone. They have an army of silent suppliers, their own silent suppliers that are critical to their success, like Intel, which has gone up as much as 60% since they announced a partnership with NVIDIA in July 2023, or ASML, which is up 70%, or even Supermicro, which has soared as high as 2,484% over the last 2 years alone. Now, though, NVIDIA is taking on a new venture, data centers. You see, data centers are essential to AI because they provide the massive storage capacity needed to house and manage the vast amounts of data that AI technology relies on. Now, while nothing is confirmed, I do believe that NVIDIA has brought on board several silent suppliers to help develop these new data centers. And nothing's confirmed yet. But I've identified 3 potential suppliers that I believe are primed to surge from this initiative. So, as soon as you get this report, I recommend you get a stake in these 3 companies. And that's not all, folks, because I've also included a 4th bonus report designed to help you protect your portfolio in the midst of the AI revolution. You see, AI, of course, we've talked about it. It's fastly becoming the most disruptive piece of technology on the planet. And it's also one of the biggest wealth-building opportunities in the stock market. While the AI sector has a ton of wealth-building potential, a ton of goods, a ton of positives, not every AI stock is positioned to soar. Some of them are quite literally destined to fail. I'm talking about companies that aren't leveraging AI technology properly or are building AI tools with very little utility. I've identified 3 of these companies and put their details in a report titled 3 AI Losers to Avoid. Now, you're going to want to steer clear of these companies because, in my opinion, they're about to crash. So, folks, to recap, here are the 4 reports you can get access to today. The first report is the Silent Suppliers, 3 companies set to support Apple's AIPhone. The second report is Apple's Forever Suppliers, the 3 companies set to support Apple's AIPhone. The third report is NVIDIA's Silent Suppliers, 3 companies powering NVIDIA's AI revolution. And last but not least, the 4th report is 3 AI Losers to Avoid. Now, all 4 reports are yours free the moment you join Innovation Investor. Now, I'll even give you a chance to get started and claim them very shortly, because with Apple set to make a big pivot into the AI game, you need to know how to fully position yourself now to profit from it. And I want you to have my best investment ideas going forward. Now, when you join risk-free, you'll also get 24/7 access to our private Innovation Investor website. And that's where you'll be able to find our proprietary model portfolio. Inside, you'll see we have 2 tiers of active recommendations, our core portfolio and our venture portfolio. Now, that's a combined total of no more than 60 active stock picks, ranging from mid-risk, mid-reward stocks to those with potentially 10 times or greater upside. You'll never have to guess at what price to buy because we'll always give you buy up to prices. And anytime we recommend selling, you'll get those alerts delivered straight to your inbox. Now, you'll get all of this today for giving Innovation Investor a risk-free try. And while practically everyone is raising their prices on everything right now, today, my publisher agreed to give you a special deal. The normal price for Innovation Investor is $499 a year. But when you join Innovation Investor today through this presentation, you'll be getting a huge discount. And right now, we have more than 40 active picks showing up to double-digit gains. It's the best deal you're going to see, and it's at no risk to you. Now, for any reason you're not satisfied at any point during your first 90 days of access, all you got to do is contact our customer service team, and we'll give you a full refund. No questions asked. No matter what, you get to keep everything that comes with this offer today. You get to save all 4 special reports. You get to save all the alerts too. And that, folks, is the difference between Innovation Investor and everything else. But I know, once you get started, you're going to want to stick around for the ride because, folks, last year in 2023, our average return on closed positions was over 100%. I mean, who else is producing returns like that? I can't think of anybody. We were doing that. But again, everything I promise you today, it's yours free, regardless of how you feel 90 days in when you join Innovation Investor. Just please keep in mind, all investing obviously carries risk. You should never invest more than you would be comfortable losing. And even if you don't join me today, I still want to make sure that you got immense value for sticking with me throughout this presentation. So get out a pen and paper or write this stock down in your notes app on your phone, probably your iPhone. Because according to my research, this company could be one of Apple's silent AI suppliers. And I believe it could be a big winner as Apple makes its big pivot into AI. Now, I'm talking about a company we've referenced a few times before in this presentation, and that is Taiwan Semiconductor. Its ticker is TSM. And like I mentioned earlier, they're already a key part of Apple's supply chain. I mean, they currently produce Apple's processor chips, and as Apple makes their big pivot into AI, I'm confident that TSM will maintain its relationship with Apple and that the stock will soar. Now, that's because TSM, they're at the forefront of semiconductor manufacturing, and semiconductors are essentially the brains of AI. They help process the vast amount of data that's used to run AI systems, which means that as Apple pivots into the AI market, they'll need even more advanced chips, and guess who's got those? TSM. They have cutting-edge technology that can provide exactly that, advanced semiconductor chips for AI computing. So you'll want to get into this stock right away because they could and likely will, in my opinion, play a key role in Apple's AI pivot. But that's not all. You see, while it's important to get into the right plays, you also need to stay out of the wrong ones, right? Double-edged sword here. So I ask that you avoid grabbing a stake in Samsung. You see, Samsung is currently Apple's biggest competitor in the smartphone market, but as Apple rolls out their first AI-powered iPhone, the AIPhone, I believe Samsung, they're going to lose a large chunk of their market share in the smartphone industry, and as a result, their stock could tank. So be sure to not just grab a stake in TSM, but also avoid taking a stake in Samsung as you look to position yourself for Apple's AI pivot. Okay, folks, to recap, we stand right now at a very important, critical moment in the AI revolution because Apple is about to enter the AI race. And you have a chance to get in on the ground floor of their new AI-powered products, which I strongly believe will make some people richer than they ever imagined. And others, those who miss this opportunity, will continue to be left behind. Now, it's time for you to decide. For those of you watching at home, just click the special offer button on your screen for all the details. This could be your last call to act as Apple rolls out their first AI-powered device, the AIPhone. It's up to you what you do with everything that I've shown you today. But just know that Apple is gearing up to dominate the AI industry, and so are their silent suppliers. Now, once these silent suppliers get officially revealed by Apple, this opportunity to invest at the ground floor, that vanishes forever. And again, for those of you watching at home, to get instant access to everything promised today, just click the special offer button to get started. I look forward to seeing you on the other side.